I'd like to do a couple introductions. If the officers could put your cameras on and say hello. We have Chad Van Bennekom as our president. He was elected last fall, started on January 1st. You want to introduce yourself,
Hi.
Chad?
Hi, everybody. Yep. Chad Menicum, welcome back for all those that were with us last night. Thanks again for joining us and being flexible, doing this virtually again this year. And for those of you that weren't here last night, yep, like Karen said, joined my Sorba board and then was elected president last year. And am the vice president of Keweenaw Snowmobile Club. And pretty involved in the community up here, Chamber of Commerce and all kinds of other things. So that's a little bit about me.
We have Mark Paintner. He is our treasurer of the association. Say hi, Mark. Got on your mute.
Thanks, Karen. Hopefully wrapping up my 8th year, and this is a great turnout. This really worked out well, I think. Great idea.
I don't see Scott Madison yet. He's possibly going to be fashionably late. So I think that's the only 2 officers from the association that we have on tonight. So we will get things rolling here. Ron Yesney is the Upper Peninsula Trails Coordinator. He's got his fingers in a whole lot of things. He works on the Ride Right committee with him. I'm very proud to sit on that committee with him, as well as he works on our permanent trails, the snowmobile trails, and now has kind of morphed into a few of the snowmobile and RV from some really great what do we call that, Ron? Together, to working together and putting
Snow
the
Country
trails
Trails
in.
Conservancy?
What's that?
You talking about the Snow Country Trails Conservancy?
Yeah. But now that there's several miles of trails now that are actually ORV and snow, because they've been able to get some funding from the ORV community as well. So that's
Right.
awesome that they put that together. ORV does not have a permanent trail fund yet. We hope that that's something that's coming into the future, and maybe if they decide to move forward with a registration, getting some good feedback on that. Lots of people are ready for that, and we can kind of maybe do the same thing that we're doing for the snow. So I know most of us are snow and ORV, so keep that in your minds as a something that we can do to move forward and further our recreation here. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ron Yesney, and you can tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, it says host disabled screen sharing.
Sorry, Ron, I got you.
Okay. Oh yeah, so you wanted me to introduce myself. I'm Ron Yesney. I'm the Upper Peninsula Trails Coordinator. Been with the department for about 21 years, based out of the Marquette office, and heavily involved with the snowmobile program and the ORV program, and very big part of getting the Ride Right program started and the permanent trails program started. So well, the permanent trails program started with MSA, but then as far as the department's part of it, I was a part of getting that. So I'll talk about that in a minute. That's my intro. Can I share my screen yet, Karen?
You can, Ron.
Okay.
There's a little
Right,
green
thank
share
you.
at the bottom. As long as you have the file open, it'll share.
I don't use Zoom much. You guys see that?
Yep, Ron, we can see that.
Yes. Does it say Ride Right or does it say Groomer Workshop?
It says Groomer Workshop Ride Right info.
Okay, good. You're seeing the right thing then. 'Cause my screen is split between the two and I wasn't sure.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
It is split, Ron. It's a split screen. It's not showing just the your ones.
Okay. See on my screen it shows both.
I think we're seeing the presenter view rather than the presentation view, if that's helpful.
Might be. I don't know why it's doing that. You're probably right, but I don't know how to change it. Hide presenter view. How's that look?
There you go. There you go, Ron.
All right. Groomer Workshop 2025. Talk about Ride Right. So the history. So it started in 2017. 2017, there was a lean team that was formed, and we all met down at the Ram Center in Roscommon. There's a bunch of people that knew things about snowmobile program and tried to find ways to make the snowmobile program leaner, meaner, and better. I was on a couple of those lean teams, but the marketing lean team is the one that I was in charge of. And in that marketing component of snowmobiling, we talked a lot about rider safety and how to start a campaign that reached people. Because at that time, Luce County was kind of doing their own messaging around Ride Right. And then my Sorbo was doing some messaging. They were doing a lot with the alcohol and law enforcement had their own thing. Our DNR marketing outreach division had their own thing. Parks and Rec had their own thing. Sheriff's Department had their own thing. Problem was with our safety program is everybody was doing their own thing. We didn't have one banner. So we started the Ride Right program, and we kind of rolled all the law enforcement, MSA at the time, DNR marketing outreach division, and parks together into one campaign, safety campaign. One of the first things we did was on our confidence markers now, there's confidence markers, but then there's some that say stay right. And in the handbook, it says you need one at least every 2 miles. And that was initiative to try to just put people in the mindset that they had to stay on the right-hand side of the trail. Some said, well, that's common sense. Everybody knows that. Well, not necessarily. I'm going to show you a couple of videos. That looked like it hurt.
Definitely my least favorite one to watch, Ron.
Here's another one. So those of you that you've all ridden before and you've come around a corner or over a hill and you find somebody on your side of the trail, it's really infuriating. It's frustrating. So what we tried to do is put these reminders in to get people to think about it constantly. So we don't have running down the center. When we first talked about it, there were a few people that said that is just common sense. We don't need to sign for that. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people that don't have a lot of common sense. So we started out with these confidence markers, and that was one of the first things we did. Next thing we did was started out with some posters, and we sent them to different clubs and different agencies that work with snowmobiling and snowmobilers. And the first one we did had speed was a factor at 80% of the snowmobile accidents that caused by death. We knew that because we looked at some data from DHHS and the UP, and we found that it was well over 80%. But the people that the marketing outreach division, they're very touchy about what we say. So we had to be very careful with that. So we know it was well over 80%, but we could say at least 80%. So basically people just riding too fast, whether they're drinking or not. Most of them are missing curves. And then of course we do have some of the head-on accidents or people swerving to miss somebody that's on their side of the trail. The next series of posters we had were the speed is dangerous one, and speed is number one serious rider injury issue. And then we had the bullets, ride on the right hand side of the trail, ride at a safe speed, ride sober, anticipate and yield to groomers, and don't use modified exhausts was on one of them, because we were running into that more and more. Upper Peninsula with people running ends and pipes, and more complaints, trail closures because of that. One said, ride home safe to your family and friends on the right. And the most recent one says, ride home safe to your family and friends right in the middle. And we added the part about the modified exhausts because, quite frankly, we've got some landowners that really get ticked off about that. So, trying to save trail. So that was one of our first efforts. Thing that stemmed from those posters is a lot of grant sponsors and people that do signings that, the posters are great, but there's really a limited number of places where we can put them. So we actually had the poster made into a sign. Sign looks like this. It is now available in your sign order. So I encourage you to order these from when you do your sign order, get as many as you can. You can put these up just about anywhere, but don't put them on a stop or stop ahead sign. You can put them on mostly at intersections above or below the orange directional arrows or the community arrows. That would be a good place for them. Anytime you have directional people that are stopped at where they're going, at least get them thinking about riding right. So that stemmed from the posters. Posters work really well, but there's just limited places you can put them, and there's not an easy way to put them on a cedar post. So we did the posters, we did the signs. We also did this work. So what we ran into quite often, I'm surprised. I deal with the public quite a bit, especially during our free snowmobile weekend that we have, how misinformed people are about what their snowmobile trail permit buys them. So we tried to put that into perspective. $52 trail permit pays for about 8.4 miles of grooming just once. So basically, if you're riding over 8.4 miles, you're getting your money's worth. And it also pays for the other things, trail grooming and signage, bridges and culverts, new equipment, etc. A lot of people just don't realize this goes right past them. I was talking to some people at a public meeting one time, and they thought it all went to law enforcement. The reason they didn't buy a trail permit, they said, it all goes to law enforcement. That's not true. A good portion of your registration goes to law enforcement, but your trail permit dollars go to back to the grooming agencies. So it's important to let people know that. We tried to put this out at least a couple times a year to remind people what their trail permit actually buys them and what they get for it. Sometimes it also helps to compare it to places, other states and provinces. The cost is a whole lot more. So they're blessed to have what they have. They should be blessed to have the trail system we have in Michigan with that number. We also did the Ride Here program. So especially in the Upper Peninsula, it's probably true in the lower as well, but just many people that want an off-trail ride. And we were losing land control over it. We had some really angry landowners over this issue. What we didn't have is we didn't have a good sign for it. Signs that said stay on trail, but they are not an enforcement sign. The stay on trail is basically a suggestion. This new sign that says private land enforcement area, stay on trail, receives fines. That is something that our law enforcement can stand behind and can enforce. So if you have problems when people are getting off the trail and you want it enforced, you need to have these signs up. They're in your sign order them and put them in those areas where you have off-trail riding occurring that you're risking losing land control over. And there was a Ride Here poster that went along with that. We sent those out as well. That was all about if you're going to off-trail ride, how to do it, ride on public lands, open to backcountry snowmobile, and avoid private property. And the one true misconception I think out there is corporate land in the Upper Peninsula people think is public land. It's not open to snowmobiling unless we have a trail there. And we try to get that across to people as much as we can. Just because it's owned by TRG or Long Year or Manulife doesn't mean it's open to snowmobiling. Might be where there's a trail there, but other than that, the off-trail riding is not allowed on corporate land. This year we did some gas station marketing. We're trying to reach people any way we can, and we thought about doing billboards to try to get people as they come up I-75 or 31, 131. But we landed on this. We got some help from a company called Brogan. They're our contractor that we work with that does our marketing for the department. So we kind of had to use them. And they came up with these designs. So we had these posters on top of the gas pumps, and then we had these right on the gas pump. There's messaging there about Ride Right and what to do and what not to do. This program's fairly successful. The problem we have with it is getting it into the right gas stations and getting it into the number of gas stations. The company we work with is called Brogan. They only have contracts with certain gas stations. So we're working on that. I've got a meeting on Friday to try to open that up a little bit and try to get in some of the major chain gas stations so we can start marketing more with this gas station campaign to try to get people thinking about it as they're filling up their trucks or they're filling up their snowmobiles. We also use social media messaging. We've done a lot of that this year. A lot of it's on Facebook. There's other social media networks that it's on. I'm only a Facebook member, so I've seen it quite a bit on Facebook. It's interesting. I'd say it reaches a lot of people. I'd say the comments that we get are a lot of things about, like we put, Ride Right safety messaging, and we'll get comments about solar farms, and the DNR, clearing land for solar farms.
Yeah, tonight there's a bunch. Ron Yesney's talking right now.
Yeah, somebody needs to mute their.
Hey, Mark, can you mute yourself, please?
Okay, thank you. So yeah, the social media, I think it reaches a lot of people. Hopefully we can get it more focused next year. And I think in the first year you do things, you learn from them. And I hope some of you at least have seen the Ride Right social media marketing. The other thing we do, whenever we do a press release now, so for example, with the Free Snowmobile Weekend this year, we talked about the Free Snowmobile Weekend. We've talked about, how many miles of trail, but we also then add a Ride Right message to the bottom, and those bullets that include riding home safe to family and friends. So we've been able to include the Ride Right message as a part of other press releases that we're doing. We also did the Lead Right program. I got a video. I'll come back to that. I don't know if any of you have seen the Lead Right video, but the Lead Right video was all about trying to get folks to think about, if you're the lead rider, the additional responsibilities that you have regarding making sure those that are behind you are riding within their skill zone. In 2022, 2023, that winter, the first 5 fatalities we had were all, anybody know what the first 5 fatalities had in common?
Inexperienced riders.
Women.
Trying to keep up.
Women.
Both
are
of them.
trying
all
to keep
women.
up.
Yeah, they were inexperienced, trying to keep up, and they're all women. So the first 5, snowmobiling, if you look at the numbers, about 20% of snowmobilers are actually women. In the first 5 fatalities we had were all women trying to keep up with their husbands and boyfriends or fathers. One of them was a daughter. So we did a video on that. If I have time later, I'll show it, but I don't know if I have time. We kind of crossed over a little bit and we did some Ride Right messaging. in the ATV and ORV world. We did posters, we did that sign. We've messaged out, we got some data here in 2023. The number of ORV accidents, I realize this is a groomer workshop. I was just going to go into this quickly. The number of accidents with side-by-sides and ORVs continues to go up. 2023, we had 16 fatalities. That's more fatalities than we had in snowmobiling that year. 5 of them include alcohol and drugs. And the message here is that we're trying to get the ride right message into the motorized. We're keeping it with motorized, but we're going to do more with the ORV community to try to get people slow down, ride safe speed, ride on the right side of the trail, keep their lights on, wear a helmet, ride sober, and operate within their limits. Because quite frankly, people aren't always doing that. We also use social media. We had some special pictures taken, and we use social media in the snowmobile in the ORV program as well to do some messaging around certain factors. And these are examples of where this was a message about buying your license or trail permit, and then we had the ride message at the bottom. Same thing here, set your sights on ORV riding, ride right message at the bottom. So what we're doing is incorporating the ride right message into more and more things. And then this next thing is about trail etiquette and rider etiquette. We have a ride right page on, if you go michigan.gov/ride right. There's a whole program and there's a bunch of things you can download and use yourselves. Some of that messaging and posters and social messaging, a lot of it's available to the clubs to use anytime you want. And here's some of the etiquette messaging. What we're going to do in the future, we're looking at more social media, finding that we reach a lot of people that way. We talked about billboards. They're not horribly expensive, but it's difficult to get one right where you want it. And we might be doing more gas station if we can get strategic places identified. If we can get major gas station companies, like in Northern Lower, in the Upper Peninsula, there's some key chains that we would like to work our way into and be able to display our goods at those specific gas station chains. Then we would probably continue with it. If we can't get into the more specific chains, we might not do it. It's good messaging, but if we can't get into the right places, then it's probably not worth it. So that's all I had for Ride Right. I realized I'm on a timeline. I realize it's 6:27. What questions might you have before I start talking about permanent trails?
Hey, Ron, can you show them the cooler clings that they did in the beverage, on the beverage coolers?
I have a
Don't you
picture of that.
picture?
Yeah, I do, but it'd be hard to find. Sorry, I didn't include it in here.
That's right. So one of the things that we did with Ride Right is they made some cooler clings and they went on cooler doors. So as they were in the store, it was in front of their face as well, which I thought was a really great, it's along the same line here.
Yeah, at the convenience store. So we had these at the pumps. We had these on the pumps themselves. And then we had cooler clings in the store.
Right. Mr. Coe has his hand up. Ron, go
Hi,
ahead.
Ron.
Go
I
ahead.
have a question. The $52 trail permit pays for a poster. Can we get those? Can the clubs order those?
Yeah, that would be on I think they're on the internet. So let me see if I
I
can
think
show
we
you where-
have some at the office yet. Gina, can
Yeah.
you look into that and send them to Mark Coe? Or maybe Jessica's got some yet?
Here's the thing, Karen, is there's that toolbox available online. So I can forward you that link and you can forward it to your members. That would be great. And they can download stuff.
That would be cool.
Right.
Another question, Ron, or not a question, but just a comment for you is that a Blarney Castle's hometown is here in Bear Lake and are by the Benzie Manistee Snowbirds. And I know the owners pretty well. So Blarney Castle's a big, fuel station, a lot of them in Northwest Lower Michigan. We could get information to them about the pump advertising.
Yeah, do that for me, please. I would like to see what it's going to take to get our advertising in those more of those chains like Blarney Castle. The other one's what's that other one, Up North Food Store or something like that. They're all over Northern Lower. If we could get into them, I think it would be a great marketing tool. Okay, I see Eric. Eric, got your hand up.
Yeah, as far as gas stations, it's good to target the chains, but are you targeting all the one-offs that get the high volumes of snowmobile traffic? Because that's where it seems like a lot of the snowmobiles get gas is like the Pine Stomps, the Paradise.
Yeah, we tried to target as many of those. Brogan had contracts with a lot of the one-off companies. They just don't have contracts with the chains. And we gave them specific stations that we wanted in the East UP, the West UP, the North. And they kind of came back at us and said, well, no, that's up to you to develop those relationships. They only have relationships with certain gas stations. And I gave them as many as I could. I got recommendations from the trail specialists in every region. Yes, Pine Stump Junction was on there. Grand Marais was on there. But we weren't able to get any advertising there because they didn't have contracts with Brogan. So I did talk to my supervisor about it, and we're going to try to see if we can get contracts with them. If we can go outside of our contract with Brogan, one way or another, we have to make agreements with the places where people are pulling up, not the places that they have contracts with.
So Ron, how would you like these guys to proceed? Like for Marco, who has that, you want them to just contact you, give you their contact information? How would you like them to do this, to proceed?
Yeah, if he has contacts with the Blarney Castle people, have a conversation, let us know how it went. They may have a marketing firm that they work with solely, so we might have to work with that firm. But yeah, let us know who it is. You can let Karen know. Karen's on the committee and she can bring that to me. So that'd be the easiest thing to do.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. So just, I know, Eric, the Pine Stump isn't near you, but if you were up there, you could certainly do that too. Yeah.
So, we're working to get our inroads into as many of those gas stations as possible. The stations that we got this year were the ones that Brogan had contracts with. So we're working to either, get contracts with the other companies, or maybe Brogan can expand their depth of the companies they have contracts with, or maybe we have to do it ourselves. I don't know, but it is important that we get into the right places. Any more questions or suggestions on the Ride Right program? Okay.
Great presentation, Ron. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep people from wrapping themselves in trees. Maybe that's a little too graphic, but that's the truth. I mean, 2 more fatalities this week up here, both in the East UP. So people are continuing to ride too fast. All right, so the next presentation, I got that thing again where it's okay, permanent easements on snowmobile trails. This is actually Matt Toriano's presentation, but he wasn't able to make it tonight, so I will talk about this. The biggest thing to know about the permanent snowmobile program, or the trail easement program, excuse me, is it started out in the 1990s. It had to do with MSA at the time sitting down with some DNR people talking about how they could solidify our trail network. A lot of the corporate lands in the UP at that time were changing hands, and we were losing trail. I mean, we're down to, for example, in the 1990s, early 2000s, we had over 6,500 miles of trail. We're down to now between 6,000 and 6,100 miles. So that's over 500 miles of trail that we've lost. And people are recognizing that, saying, hey, what can we do about that? And so we started this initiative of passing laws to put money from your snowmobile registration into an account, into a fund that would help buy permanent easements on snowmobile trails. So that started, and that law was passed in 2009. The money grew, and then around 2013, which still wasn't a real systematic way of using that money. I think the DNR and the MSA at that time had different ideas, and there was concepts thrown out there, but everybody was kind of a little bit differing on how they could spend the money or how they wanted to spend the money, whether they wanted to funnel it through nonprofit or whether the state should be administering the land. At the time, the state didn't have landman or real estate division capable of doing all this work. So in 2017 came together, started over again. My some DNR staff, MSA staff at that time, we met and talked about a kind of a way forward. We started meeting monthly, talking about how we were going to start doing this, how we were going to start making this happen. There was an acquisition that happened in 2013, parcel of land in Spur Township. It was before the process was ironed out, and there's a parcel of land that was somebody was going to pull the permission on Trail 8 in Barrett County, and Snow Trails money was used to buy the land, but it got pretty interesting because the attorney that was writing it all up didn't get it correct. And so there was actually an easement reserved on our parcel by somebody else instead of an easement for us. I think the gist of that was that the process wasn't ironed out, and they're kind of just throwing money at somebody to buy this land and create a snowmobile easement, and it didn't go very well. So in 2017, we started working together, and things started, I would say they in a more positive. There was a law passed that kind of went into how we could spend these funds, and then there was administrative rules and codes talked about how and when we could spend this money and when we couldn't spend this money, and we had to work within these laws and administrative rules, create a process that worked for everybody. So now the acquisition process is we typically have a club or a landowner come to us and say, hey, we've got a possibly willing seller. If that's true, we bring it to the Snow Country Trails Conservancy, which is the group that we set up in 20,000. They have actually been set up for quite a while through MSA, but we started meeting with them through the DNR in 2017. And since then, we've met every other month. So there's an approval that goes through them, decide what we're going to buy. And then there's the process of doing title work, possible surveys, closing documents, so forth. And we can, in about 90 days, if we run it through the Snow Country Trail Conservancy, which is a nonprofit that can move a little faster, but we end up with like that. That's good. So we're learning as we go. We've done some big projects in the UP. The biggest one was Lime Great Lakes Timber. That's about 200 miles of trail. They're the biggest landowner in the state of Michigan. So Lime Great Lakes was willing to sell us easements on everything that we had on their land. It was ORV and snowmobile. For the snowmobile portions, we used snowmobile money. If it was dual, it was snowmobile and ORV, we used snowmobile, and we split it half with the ORV program. Keweenaw Land Association, we did the same thing. They're the biggest in the western UP. They were willing to sell easements on their land, and that was about 100 miles of trail. Right now, we're working on, there was a project we did in Big Bay. That's one we ran through the club. We're working on the Keweenaw Trail, which is part of the Keweenaw Trail from Mohawk to Calumet. There's a piece we're working on there. Cleveland Cliffs is a mining company in central Upper Peninsula, Ishpeming, Negaunee. and we're working on a permanent easement with them, possibly some new trail. We're working on a Rapid River Railroad grade. That's in Delta Sorva area in UP Snowflyers area. Then we just wrapped up the Timbrel Trail 14 between Lawrence and Big Bay. Some of the stuff we've been up to. Strengths, challenges, strengths of the program. We have good stakeholder support. We meet with Snow Country Trails Conservancy every other month. DNR process has been smoothed out. We've got some corporate engagement now with the corporate landowners. Some of the challenges are awareness. So we've had easements by us in the past, whereas we had a landowner willing to sell, but we didn't know about it, and then they ended up selling the land. And then they said, well, I would have sold you an easement before I sold the land, but I didn't know about it. So a lot of it comes down to that that relationship that the club has with the landowner. If that landowner is going to sell, it's a good time to buy an easement. We just did that up in Mass City. We bought about 3/4 of a mile of trail. The person was getting ready to sell the land, and they said they would hold off on selling it until we bought the easement from them. And then they sold it with the easement on it, which didn't affect us. And we're doing more program expansion into the Lower Peninsula. And we've completed a couple in the Lower Peninsula, but not as many as we have in the Upper Peninsula. We've been kind of focused on the big landowners. The other thing we have going on that's not on here, I don't know if Matt talked about it, but we have basically a summer student called a Glasson Scholar. And we've had one the last 2 summers, and they spent some time mapping the whole state and examining where all the private property is and where we could potentially focus our trail easement buying dollars. So we've got those documents underway. And this is Matt's presentation, so that's his son. Sources and links. And now questions. So I went through that.
You have a comment here in the chat from Marco.
Okay.
Matt had looks like a meeting with landowners, and then they haven't heard anything. They're wondering what's going on with that. And I'm not sure if you are going to be able to answer that or if that's going to have to come from Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk to Matt about it, but I don't know, like, on a day-to-day basis who he's talking to or who he's not. I kind of was the person that started this. Then when the DNR hired Matt, I didn't have the bandwidth to run it all. So kind of turned it over to Matt. He's been doing the majority of the work. So I don't know who he met with, Mark. I would have to talk to him. If you have his information.
Yeah, we had 2 landowners we met directly with while he was here. And then we had the road commission that has a mile of property. And then we have another landowner in North and Benzie County. These are all parcels that are opportunities for us to keep some trail on the ground. And if we lose them, landowners, the ones that he met with, are a little bit frustrated that they haven't heard anything back. We've reached out a couple times for some follow-up, and we've got nothing.
Yeah, that's positive to hear. Karen, do you remember if he brought those projects to the Snow Country Trails Conservancy at all?
A couple meetings ago we did talk about it, but I don't have any of my Snow Country stuff here right now, Ron. So I'm sure there's something in our notes. I do remember talking about it. I don't remember what he was waiting on.
Yeah, I'll send him a message right now to make sure he calls you, Mark. I think he's got your contact information.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Yeah, we can just ask him. I know that one of the parcels we got a call from a groomer who was kind of retired out of the program, and he said this guy's selling, and boy, everything kind of went real fast with that one too. So it can happen very quickly. That's what Snow Country does for you. A little bit about Snow Country, how that started was a club disbanded, and they had $37,000 or $38,000 sticks in my mind, and they donated it to start the Permanent Trails Fund. That was how the whole thing was born, and that we owe a debt of gratitude to Brad Potter. Brad Potter's still around. He's a great guy, and it was the Lowell. Anybody remember the name of their club? It was a Lowell something. Anybody remember?
Do
Karen?
we direct information to Snow Country then too now, or is that
Yes,
not a
you
thing we
can.
do?
You certainly can, Mark. Anything
We
that
got a
comes
project.
to me.
We got a
Go ahead.
project in Lower Michigan that would connect 2 state parks, and it would be awesome, about a 28-mile trail.
Yeah, I mean, just depends on how feasible it is, how many landowners there are, and if they're willing to sell, and if they're willing to agree to appraised value. You know, there's a lot that can go wrong. There's probably equally as things that can go wrong. We've had some landowners that have backed out, you know, thought that, yeah, I thought it was a good idea, but now I don't. We've had that happen. We've had some landowners that want more than appraised value for their easement. And we've been able to kind of massage that up a little bit, but there's only a certain level we can go. We can't pay like unlimited amounts for it with public dollars. And these are your dollars, these are snow wheel dollars, but they're still regulated by the state of Michigan buying policies. And gets really tricky when you start talking about appraised value and not being able to buy for over appraised value. Some people think their easement's worth a lot more than it is. We've had that happen, but we've had a lot of successes. A lot of people are really reasonable. Some aren't. I can't say what happened down by you, Mark, because I don't know. But I will forward the message to Matt and make sure he gets a hold of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer, it was the Flat River Snowmobile Club. You're absolutely right. There you go. You have another question in the chat here. Joe wants to know if there's a fact sheet that a club can use or hand to a potential landowner so that they can have the good information.
We do not have a fact sheet at this time, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think
I'll
we
work
talked
on it.
about it in the past. I think it's got to be somewhat loosely written, if I remember right, because it goes by land
we could do
value
that.
in
We
the
could create
area.
a fact sheet. Yeah, that just kind of walks people through the process, you know.
Right.
So yeah, we as a department, we have certain policies, rules, and regulations with purchasing that we have to follow. And the other way we have around that is if the Snow Country Trails Conservancy buys it themselves, which come with as protections. So there's benefits to each way to have done it.
It's definitely it's a good partnership to have because we can jump quicker than they can sometimes. So that's helpful.
Right. So I would say I'm on here for another 13 minutes. So if anybody has anything to say about the Ride Right program or the Permanent Trails program, shoot them out to me, raise your hand or put it in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer.
Hey, Ron, maybe you can do your lead right video that they can,
I can do
so
that.
they can find that. Oops, you got a hand up here, Ron. Daniel Teeter's got his hand up.
Hey, Ron.
Go ahead, Dan.
Hi there. Hey, quick question on the Ride Right program. One thing I noted was the imagery. All looks bucolic. All these wonderful scenes of snowmobiles and happy families. I wondered if there was any discussion about something more jarring, like along the lines of, you know, Scared Straight from years ago, or Your Brain on Drugs kind of campaign, where, and I'm, you know, with sensitivity to real accidents, but some kind of a scene of a mangled snowmobile gets attention, particularly when the message is so serious that accompanies it. I just was curious if that was ever part of any of the discussions about the campaign and how it would surface visually wherever it does.
Yeah, it's been discussed, Daniel, and I've actually had quite a few suggestions about that lately. It's not necessarily impossible, but it's hard because our marketing and outreach division monitors any messages that come out with the DNR logo on it or anything to do with it. And they're really cautious about having anything with that type of imagery, with the concern that it would, you know, gives a message, which is true, but
It's not a positive message that's being conveyed when talk about imagery like that, right?
I
Yeah.
have real concerns about doing it, and part of that has to do with the marketing and outreach has certain rules and regulations that they have to play by, and it's very difficult to create a campaign with those types of images. But I do see your point. It might really grab people's attention more than just people are driving too fast. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's right down to the colors that you can use. Am I right, Ron? On the pictures, it
Does,
has to be
yeah,
certain colors,
very
certain
specific.
contrasts. Yeah, we have a lot of hoops to jump through before we can market anything for Ride Right.
Okay, I had that video pulled up. Hold on.
Yep, and then just hit your share again, Ron.
I will. Joe puts up. My computer's really slow right now for some reason.
Yeah,
Says I got
Matt,
a
I
bad connection.
agree. Matt said
Probably.
it garners a ton of attention when accident scenes get posted on Facebook. I agree. I have a hard time posting those, Matt. I see them a lot. I choose not to look at them because you can't get that image out of your head. And for a lot of people, I think that's maybe what they need. So I think you're doing a great job appealing to that group. I struggle personally with it. So, but yes, you're absolutely right. It does, Matt. You should just have to hit your share, Ron, once you got it. Because you're not
Is it
sharing
shared
it
now
yet.
or not? Is it not
Nope,
shared?
it's not. Nope, we got nothing. We're just all looking at each other. There you
Okay.
go.
All right. Sorry about that.
It's all right. I think the only bad thing is we're gonna have the same thing. We couldn't hear it last night.
Got sound?
Nope.
The Ride
The
Right
same.
Safety Campaign
Oh, there it goes.
originated
There you got it.
in Lewis County, Michigan. It is an effort to bring all entities that support safe snowmobiling together under one banner with a united safety message. As part of our Ride Right Safety Campaign, we're rolling out a Lead Right initiative. Leading right involves thinking about the additional responsibilities that a lead rider in a group of snowmobiles has. Hi, I'm Ron Yesney. I'm the Upper Peninsula Trails Coordinator for the Michigan DNR. I'm here today to talk about the importance of riding right and leading right. As a lead rider, you have to be super cognizant of who you're riding with. If it's a group of friends that have a lot of riding experience, you can ride a little bit differently. But if you have novice riders, new riders, young riders, family members that don't have the experience, there is extra precautions that need to take place. Over the past few winters, we've seen numerous serious injury and fatal crashes where novice riders were trying to keep up with more experienced lead riders. And sometimes it's the novice rider behind them that can be injured or killed. Especially important to have a pre-ride meeting, meet with those that are going to be on your ride, go over some tips with them, let them know where you're headed, where you're going to be stopping, what type of ride to expect. Also, play most novice rider directly behind the key rider. Keep those novice riders. Have a sweep. Have an experienced rider at the tail of your group so that you can keep the novice riders in between. Industry standards around 6 or 7 people. If you have more people than 6 or 7 people in a group, it's a good idea to break up into separate groups and have different lead riders and have different sweeps. That way you're not trying to, as a lead rider, keep track of too many riders, and that can become dangerous in and of itself. One very important part of being a lead rider, stopping at all intersections. That means stops and yield signs. And the important part about stopping at those intersections is checking on your riders. One important thing to have as a lead rider are mirrors. Mirrors are important because as you ride, you can check on the riders behind you without having to mechanically turn around and take your own vision off the trail. The other thing is at all intersections, stop, take the time, look, turn around, give folks the thumbs up. If somebody behind you is struggling, they've got a cold hand, a fogged up helmet, they have to use the bathroom, then it gives them a chance to say, hey, no, wait a minute, I need to stop for a second. So give the thumbs up and give those other riders a chance to give you a thumbs up as well. And then head off and go to the next intersection. Don't compliment or criticize riders for being able to keep up. And you might think it's a good idea to say, oh, well, I'm just so proud of Jamie for being able to keep up. Or, Jamie can't keep up and you really screw it up. Try to avoid that. Around folks puts pressure on them to ride above and beyond their ability levels. Thing about being a lead rider, sometimes the excitement and adrenaline can kick in, and pretty soon you're going faster than you think you are. So keep that in mind. Moderate your speed. Keep an eye on the people behind you. Keep an eye on those novice riders, and just ride right. Speed is a leading cause of serious snowmobile rider injury and death. So keep in mind to ride at a safe speed at all times. Always stay on the right-hand side of the trail. Always be ready for obstacles, groomers on the trail, trees that have fallen, things like that. Always ride sober. And then lastly, make sure you ride home with family and friends. Riding right means leading right.
Okay, thanks so much, Ron. I appreciate your time tonight. Any questions from anyone? Okay, 7:22 is everyone back? Everyone ready? The next presentation, good. Next presentation is going to come from the equipment subcommittee. So within SAW, there's a few of the guys, the members of the SAW committee that have gone above and beyond, and they actually help look over the ESRs and who needs equipment, who doesn't need equipment, and it all goes into a formula, and that's how they decide. It isn't by favorites, it isn't by we like you better. So if I could take a minute, the four members of that committee from the SAW are Chad Van Bennekom, our president. He has just stepped onto the committee. And the long-term members are Carl Davenport. Carl, can you say hello? He's not on. He ain't talking to me.
As soon as I unmute myself. Hello, everyone.
And we have Chad Van Bennekom as well, our president. Scott Lacombe. I think Scott's on. And Joe Kuchnecki.
Everybody.
These four guys attend extra meetings. They work with DNR as well, and they bring a consensus to who needs equipment. I mean, obviously everybody needs equipment, but so at this time, Carl, go ahead and take off, and let's learn a little bit how they make those decisions.
Yeah, we're just gonna go through this quick PowerPoint that I put together. Talks about our ESRs, the importance of them, and some of the paperwork that we all do that drastically helps this stuff out. As Karen said, there's our four members of our subcommittee. Our contact info is there if you want to screenshot that, or you can get it from Karen. And we work side by side with Richard Kennedy. Jessica Holly is part of our group, and we usually have a few other DNR staff that we invite to our bigger meetings to give us some insight on equipment. One of the obviously the biggest part of this is your equipment status report that you do every year. Anybody that's not using this new form that is the revision date of March of 2024, You need to throw that old form out and download this new one. We worked with Jessica to reformat this and give you guys some more room if you needed it for filling out your reports. As you can see on this, everything in red is required information. I know the Jessica has worked with the contacts that if it's not filled in, to send it back and try to get it filled in. You'd be amazed at how many people don't fill some of this stuff out. Obviously the top part's your grant information, miles groomed, hours groomed. Then you get to your tractor. Obviously your make, model, year, engine, make, horsepower. I think the Tuckers are the only thing with an odometer, maybe some early smaller piston bullies, but everything's got an hour meter. If you have an odometer meter and an hour meter, feel free to throw them both on there. Where your tractor's stored at, and then the important stuff. The box on the left with it, conditioning of your tracks and tires. Obviously tracks and tires has been a major expense over the last few years. So we like to keep an eye on these things. So if we're having problems or you have a problem with tracks or tires, we can keep an eye on that and make sure that if they fail, we get you some money and get you new tracks. And then on the bottom part, obviously the box is a lot bigger than I have it here. That's the description of your tractor. That's important. We want that descriptive. Be real thorough on the condition of your unit. And if you can, please use a computer to fill out these forms. It makes it much nicer. You got to remember, we read about 180 pages of these things every year. As you can see, this one's filled out. Track, got everything there. Tractor, hour meter, where it's stored at. Information on the tracks, and then your Verizon hardware, whichever box you have, how it's installed in your unit, and then on the bottom, obviously this one, good condition, paint's faded, engine runs strong, but it uses antifreeze. Minor electrical gremlins continue to chase the problem. Hydraulic pump needs rebuilt. Throwing fault codes, every groom needs diagnosis. I think the most important thing is the thing at the bottom. I've spoke with a lot of grant sponsors that said, why didn't my tractor get fixed? And the tractor didn't get fixed because they didn't apply for any funds to fix it. The ESR is not a request for your repairs. It's a document the needed repairs and the condition of your equipment. Your repair requests need to be applied for in your grant, and or work with your contact if it's something that needs to be fixed in the off season. Possibly do an amendment through Richard, and that if it needs to go back to the manufacturer or whatever the case may be, you may be able to get money sooner than your grant in October to get that taken care of. There's an entire page for your drag now. Again, fill it out the best you can.
Carl,
yes.
Can I interrupt you for 1 minute?
Yes.
You have a question here in the chat that I
sorry.
think I need to address from Kyle.
Okay.
Um,
Storage location. Storage location during the summer or the snow period. Maybe Jessica can actually take that one. I'm not real. I've always told people where it's at during the winter time. Whether I guess I don't know if that's right or wrong. So maybe she can type it in chat or interrupt me and we can figure that out. But that's what I tell people is where it's at in the winter time. Back to what I was saying about let's say you have 3 piston bully 400s. It makes it real easy now that we're, all your documents are supposed to have your VIN number on them. But if you identify your piston bullies as piston bully 1, piston bully 2, piston bully 3, transfer that stuff to your ESR. That way, every year, you know which machine you're writing your ESR up for, and it also makes it clear to us. Sometimes we have to guess with hours on tractors to figure out which one's which, and then later find out through the club. So that'll really help. And other clubs have four arrowhead groomers that are all 9'6". We do have a pretty good history of equipment now in a nice spreadsheet. So it helps to keep that all organized and make sure that what you're conveying to us on your ESR is we're assuming that it's the correct piece of equipment. Equipment replaces and the importance of your weekly trail grooming report and ESRs. Obviously, the ESR is the key to determining the condition of your equipment. As we discussed, year, hour, the current condition of the machine, repair history, recent repairs, parts and maintenance costs, and your location and miles groomed. This is more for the people that fill out the weekly trail grooming reports, but we needed to funnel down to the groomer drivers as well. So this information is getting passed along to whoever fills out your weekly grooming reports. Again, this report was updated in March of 22. It's nice, fillable, calculates out. So make sure you're using the most current form again. We need to document your grooming repairs accurately, which that'll in turn give a complete picture of cost of grooming. So the first box that I have there, that's your groomer maintenance hours when you work on your groomer, and that's time that you're given to the program. Make sure you document those hours properly. And then the last two boxes, your groomer parts costs and your lube, oil, and routine maintenance costs. Those all go into factoring into what it actually takes cost per mile to groom snowmobile trails. We all know things are getting more expensive, and without documenting these things, it just doesn't give an accurate picture of how much money we're spending out there in the field. Let's see, I got a couple questions here. Shouldn't be using serial numbers to identify any. Yes, Matt, that's how we should. Serial numbers is correct. Some drags don't have serial numbers, so it's more that's where we need clubs to kind of define a piece of equipment, whether it's color or it's serial number or whatever you've tokened it as. Jessica said all good either way as far as I'm assuming that's for the storage location, just trying to add accurate markers on the Verizon system and also determine if machines are stored inside or outside. Always looking for ways to help clubs that need barns. We gotta know where to focus. Oh, thanks, Joe. If anybody doesn't know me, I use a lot of spreadsheets. I love them. So, yeah, this is your weekly sheet. This really helps relay the cost to Richard and the program, and trickles down to us at the equipment subcommittee. One big thing, even if you do a major repair on your piece of equipment, you had to get a major amendment or a special maintenance grant from Richard. Let's say you needed $50,000 for a motor. Make sure that you put that $50,000 in your groomer parts cost. December 1st, the first day of December. You can do it your own way. What we do is basically May 1st all the way to December 1st. Any oil changes, parts, maintenance, anything we do. My first line that says December 1, it'll have all kinds of brushing and signing hours, a bunch of maintenance hours, and that's where I document how much my oil changes were, any parts we used, all that stuff. I've just chosen, May as where we start, because we usually do some maintenance in May to wrap these things up and put them away for the summer. So that's my cutoff, and then I add it to the first report of the year. Repairs, major repairs, tracks, engines, transmission, the tires on the tractors themselves, tire change. Major repairs and exceptions are eligible by a case-by-case basis. Richard's real good about getting with the equipment subcommittee if he doesn't know something, and we help him out. Your routine maintenance, fluid changes, filters, lubricants, cutting edges, wipers, light bulbs, hoses, batteries, tires on your drag, windshields, mirrors, minor welding. Those are the things that you need to put in that far right column on the weekly turn-in sheet. And those things are paid for through all that stuff's covered in your per mile reimbursement rate. That's why we need to document this stuff so we can continue to show the need for more money for our maintenance costs. And you'll see that here in a second, that it's real apparent. I know this is a little hard to read, but I couldn't chop it up any other way. So as I said, the column on the very far left is groomer maintenance. The third column is groomer parts. The fourth column is routine costs. All the red boxes that are on there. We had 12 clubs that didn't have any groomer maintenance costs, 24 clubs that didn't have any parts costs, and 17 clubs that didn't have any routine maintenance costs. So obviously that 54 items there, that's critical, because there could have been major breakdowns, obviously oil changes, things of that nature. Even got some clubs that reported they didn't use any fuel. Not real sure how that happened. I'd like to know.
Carl, can you explain a little more? Because that goes into the formula. Am I right? So
Correct.
that's when he talks about that per mile, when he gets zeros in there, it skews the whole formula. That's
Right.
why it's so important.
And again, if I could have blown this up a little bigger, there's clubs that their cost per mile is, there's some clubs that are like $1.30, $1.60 per mile, and I think all of us know that it costs a lot more than $1.60 a mile to run these things up and down the trail. And obviously there's some clubs that had parts costs of $19,000, so obviously that must have been a major repair. But yes, that's all your data. We all know it's not a reimbursable cost, so you don't need to send in receipts. You're not getting reimbursed for that. All you're doing is just letting basically the program know, hey, these are the costs we incurred, which all go into the formula to figure out how much money we need for our maintenance cost for the tractors.
Per mile.
Yep, per mile. So on
go.
this next this kind of puts it all in perspective. Due to some other things I didn't have last year's cost analysis report, so I had to go back and use 2023's cost analysis. So our reimbursement then was $6.16 a mile. There was I think there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 12 clubs that were at or above $6.16 a mile to groom. Everybody else was below $6.16 a mile. So it basically, with what the program paid, according to the documentation that's coming in, we're being paid well for what we're doing. And I think we all know that prices have gone up and it's not getting any cheaper to do this stuff. With all the data that was given, The statewide average was $4.64. That's what it costs to groom a mile of trail. And yeah, I wouldn't want to get paid $4.64. I do know that. So this stuff's really critical that we're turning these numbers in. So what does this mean? Accurate reporting helps with determining our equipment replacement. The more money that has to go into a piece of equipment, obviously that normally moves that tractor up the list to be replaced. Accurate reporting will ultimately result in a higher average cost per mile. The higher cost per mile will increase our reimbursement rate. Higher reimbursement rate per mile leads to all of our operating costs getting covered, and we don't have to have so many spaghetti dinners to raise money. One big thing that we hear a lot of clubs come back and tell us is parts, the expensive parts, especially like Tucker guys. There's a lot of parts you can go down to your local Napa store and get. Piston bully guys, you can get almost all your filters. You can go down to your local part store, buy your filters. Same filter from a dealer is obviously going to be more money than it is more than likely at your local Napa store. So use those places when you can, and support your local businesses when you can. Things to remember: this equipment isn't the DNRs or the states. That's probably one of the things we hear most often. This equipment belongs to the snowmobile program. You guys that are part of these clubs and people that are here. The equipment costs are paid for by people like you and I. Every trail permit pays for equipment, repairs, and maintenance to our trails. Be proud of your equipment. Take care of it. Shine her up. Make her flashy. Make it look good on the trail. And obviously, the people that are paying for this equipment, they like to see well taken care of pieces of machinery out there. Common misconception: these things are bulldozers. This is not true, and if used as such, can result in major breakdowns and repairs. These units were bought to groom snow by the snowmobile trail users. We've had a lot more breaks, fixes that some of them were attributed to going out and trying to do the right thing, but just using the wrong piece of equipment. Record keeping: accurate and complete records cannot be overemphasized. I've kind of been on this for the last 5 years, and I was really looking forward to seeing everybody at the Groomer Workshop and meeting one-on-one with some people and trying to lay this out and explain, who wasn't doing all the paperwork or submitting your numbers. Off-season maintenance: maintaining batteries, change fluid, grease, inspecting your wear points, wearable engine components, belt wear, tensioners, worn wires. Start your machine every month for 10-15 minutes. Knock the mouse nest out of the exhaust and make sure she's running. Don't crank her up on November 30th and hope she's ready to groom. In the grant handbook, section F through N, that's where you can find a lot of questions or a lot of answers to maybe questions you'll have on equipment in the grant handbook. And first and foremost, if any of you guys need help, have questions, don't hesitate to contact one of us. We throughout the year, we all spend a lot of time on the phone reaching out to clubs. Clubs are reaching out to us. We're always available. If we can help you get parts for your machine or find somebody with a like machine that may have a part for you, we've got a pretty good database of where all the machinery is, and we're all more than willing to help you out.
So Carl, one of the things that was, as you bring that up, if I can interrupt here for a minute, one of the clubs brought that exact thought to me and said, we need to start some sort of a list of something that says that they have, you know, they've switched equipment and they have this or they have that, or do you have this within the club that we can get, you know, quickly, or I have to wait 2 weeks to get it from wherever and someone here in town and in the state has it. So my thought was, you know, my first initial thought was is a Facebook group that they can ask. There is a grant sponsor page that you guys can join on to and ask those questions. There's been an ongoing one about the rollers. There's a couple clubs that are looking at rollers. So use that. It's the name of it is can you think of what the name of it is, Carl, right off the top of your head? Grant sponsor something?
I knew you were gonna ask.
Michigan
not a-
grant sponsors and groomer drivers. And
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna
simply
say,
a page, and it's getting more and more popular. So they're coming in and they're using that and having some internal conversations with just grant sponsors and trail maintenance groups. So feel free to use that. And it's like I said, it's been pretty popular lately.
yeah, I'm not much of a Facebooker, but I did go on there actually, and while we're talking about this, you know, just another little safety item for your tractor. I actually put a video in there. We had a groomer break down literally in the middle of a road, and we have some nice lights that we bought through the Miracle Millions grant that have magnets on them, and they're really strong magnets. Another great piece in your tractor for if something breaks down. They've been in our tractor for 2 years. The batteries were still good in them. We threw them on there and they lasted outside in the cold. We had a guy one time, lights on the drag just mysteriously quit working. We couldn't diagnose it over the phone, chasing wires. So he just magneted a couple of those on there and continued his night of grooming. But yeah, we're here to help. If you got something broke down, you can get a hold of one of us, and like I say, we've got a pretty good list of where all the machines are, and have an idea of who's got some parts and who's pretty good at fixing stuff and MacGyver and stuff. So we're always willing to help on that. And I just had a couple clubs this week contact me about their equipment and you know, maybe what they could do heading into the off season about trying to upgrade some stuff. So yeah, I'm always willing to lend a hand and talk through some of this stuff. And Joe and I and Scott, we've had 3-way calls with clubs in the past. So yeah, we're here. And I think the last slide is probably the most important slide is you know, thanks to everybody that's volunteer. We're all volunteers. We all do this for many different reasons, but at the end of the day, we want our communities to thrive, and we want to make some badass snowmobile trails. And thank you to everybody that does that and takes care of this equipment and keeps it going down the trails. I guess anybody else have any other questions for me? Joe, Scott, Chad,
Eric
sling 'em
has
at
his hand up, Carl.
who does?
Eric? Go
What?
ahead, Eric.
Yep.
Hey, Carl, thanks for everything you and the equipment committee do. Sure, it's a daunting task to keep track of all this. I got kind of one question and then a comment. How do we get all these clubs how do we stress the importance of them filling out all the boxes, the field costs, the maintenance, because it does negatively or positively impact the group as a whole. And in today's world, $5 and some cents a mile doesn't cut it when you're burning a gallon and a quarter per mile at 310 a gallon diesel. It just don't cover the cost. You have one or two minor things, and matter you can't get ahead, and you just can't keep doing that year after year. So how do we get everyone to fill this stuff out and help the per mile average? I mean, it seems like this is a key piece and very important. And then my second comment is more big picture. You know, our club's dual club. The club has a 2021 and a 2023 tractor for grading. that we only use half the year, obviously, or during the grading season. And our snow equipment, we got a 2007 and a 2013 Pistol Bully. They're older. The 2007's seen its better days, but for a club like us, where insurance is getting paid on all this equipment, you're using it half the year. I would like to see an option where the club can own the snow equipment too, and get paid a rate per mile that reflects the club owning it. And a club like ours, we wouldn't need our 2007 snow program one no more. We would just run one of our tractors on the Cranberry in the winter. I think it would be more efficient for everyone. Costs would be.
So we've had a lot of conversations within our snow equipment subcommittee. Is there a right option to maybe go back to some type of a cost shared or club owning equipment? The bad thing that a lot of people ask this, but I guess it's not a bad thing. The way that the law is written for the money through either program, whether it's ORV or snow, the law is written so we can't share equipment basically, and so that's a real struggle because same thing, why can't the two programs buy a piece of equipment? But on the flip side of that is on the ORV equipment subcommittee that I'm on, we've had extensive talks, and I think I probably had 2 or 3 hours of that today, even to look more big picture. And that's something that as we work through the ORV side of things, we've also talked about could this transfer over to snow, and if a club wanted to 100% own their equipment, that there would be a per mile reimbursement rate for owning your equipment 100%. It's going to take a lot more discussion on the snow side, obviously, because it really hasn't had a ton of discussion. But we have to start thinking outside the box on other things, because there is some clubs out there that do want to do with just what you said. And I talk to Rick, well, probably 2-3 times a week, it seems like, this time of year. That'd be good Rick Conway too, by the way. So I mean, what you guys do down there is awesome, and you guys take care of your stuff, and it really shows, and you guys put your heart into it. And from the equipment subcommittee, thank you for doing all you do.
Right. I think Carl, what people need to remember is that the snow program has been buying this equipment for a lot of years. A lot of years. That's where our money went. So is it going to take some conversation? Sure. Can it happen? Maybe. I can't answer any of those questions. But to use the equipment that's been bought with snowmobile trail permits in the dirt doesn't seem real prosperous to the snow program.
Aaron, yes, I agree. And now that we've moved over to 100% Parks and Rec people, I think this will be a lot easier. After doing this presentation again this year, as soon as I get the cost analysis in my hands, I'm going to try to make a good faith effort to reach out to some more of these clubs. When I first started kind of making this list, it was as long as my arm. At least now I've got it down to about as long as my hand. But yes, working with Jessica, some of the contacts that I have relationships with, this stuff's been sent to Greg. I believe Ron, yes, he's had it in his hands. So yeah, we need to buckle down on this, because it's affecting a lot of people these days.
right? And for all of you asking to get a hold of us, these recordings will be on our website. It's gonna take us a minute to get them formatted appropriately and put out there. But yes, we will have this PowerPoint that Carl has and the ones from earlier tonight. And actually the whole recording of the event will be on our website soon. But I see there's some more comments here, Carl. I don't know if you want to. I know there was for Bridget, we talked about penalizing the clubs for paperwork. It's been kicked around and that's a tough call. And I guess I understand what you're saying. I do. But when they go broke, who loses? So you
One
gotta
other
ahead, Carl.
thing that I actually I've come across at a few different times when it comes to reporting costs. I had a club one time. I said, hey, like, you're grooming this many miles, how are you only using 1,000 gallons of fuel or $10,000 worth of fuel? I'm like, your fuel costs are like so low. Oh, well, we get in the month of January, we have 2 different people that buy us a tank of fuel. Yes, it didn't cost you anything, but at the same time, there is a cost for that fuel. And I've had people say that they have a business that donates some oil and filters. Same thing. You can come up with a number that those filters and oil costs, and it was still used. So make sure that you're still putting that in there, even though you didn't have a cost. But again, it's not reimbursable. So put that on there so that the program knows, you know, hey, I use this amount of dollars worth of products on my equipment. And you know, I mean, if a club's got 3 good working pieces of equipment, they may not have any costs or lower costs. If I go back to this one here, the yellow boxes are, I'm gonna say, like, not unrealistic, but probably low costs. You know, routine costs. One club had $4 in routine costs. They had no parts, and they spent $40 in groomer maintenance. Well, we all know that didn't even cover an oil change, let alone probably 2 filters. So, but you know, if they're doing their oil changes, and got the stuff for free, and they just didn't document it because they didn't have any out-of-pocket costs, that could be too. So I mean, it's real hard on this to say, you know, oh, this club just didn't do it. Maybe they just didn't have any costs that time. But all the clubs in the red, they're really hurting all of us clubs in the white that are out there doing what we're doing, and at least trying to make a couple dollars by ramen noodles at the end of the winter time. Rick, what do you got to say, buddy?
Thank you, Carl.
Oh no, thank you, sir.
And Carl, if you don't mind me jumping in, it looks like Aaron, a couple Aarons over here were speaking over on the side.
The field contacts, I'm not sure they have to sign it specifically, but I mean, they're supposed to make sure it's complete when they send it in.
And so additionally to that, one thing that was a request that came from SAW, not necessarily the equipment subcommittee, but a request that came from SAW that I myself and Jessica, who's on this call, and Greg from the DNR are working on together, is an inspection form that will be hopefully with the DNR field contacts, so that the field contacts are taking a look at the equipment at least once a year. It will not replace or the ESR form, but at least that the field contacts are putting eyes on the equipment every year, kind of to hopefully prevent kind of what this situation here, it kind of exactly as described in the chat over here, hopefully. So that is something that is kind of currently being worked on right now. So more to come hopefully soon.
Yeah, the document we saw was filled out correctly. It looks like they just penciled whipped it, so it got turned in. But when we actually received the equipment or inherited this equipment from the other club that quit grooming, there was lots of damage that cost quite a bit of money before
Aaron,
we could even get up going.
are you in the central UP, Aaron?
Yes, we're up there. Yes.
Okay, I have a feeling which unit you're talking about.
Yeah.
Aaron,
Carl,
the
Ryan has a question or a thought in here. He's wondering if in those calculations, the zero clubs could be ignored. I don't think that's a possibility, is it?
I mean,
Yeah.
that would ultimately be up to Richard to do that, but yeah, I'm not so sure that he would. But that would be up to Richard basically.
So is that could possibly be a something we discussed at SAW?
Yeah, it could be, and and again, this is always a hot topic when we sit down to discuss ESRs and look at our equipment fleet. We always talk about this conversation. So here in a few months, after everybody gets their ESRs turned in timely, and they get to us, it'll be a topic that we start off the meeting with pretty much. And like I said, if you can please use a computer, that would make our lives great. We got 67 grant sponsors, so there's 180 some pieces of equipment. And yeah, your eyes kind of go cross-eyed when you sit there and flip through pages and pages and pages. The other thing, sending a 15-page ESR doesn't usually get you any farther than anything else. If there's some pressing issues that need to be further explained, pictures, whatever the case may be, that's great to know. But yeah, we don't need a life history of a tractor going back to 2001, because we probably know most about it, especially year after year. Like I said, we've got a pretty good running history now, all the way back to 2018. So we got a 7-year history on all this equipment, and it's it's based off of everything you guys put in your ESR. So I appreciate everybody that does a great job on these, and lets us keep this history of the machines going, so we can try to continue to keep our fleet as best we can. So it just gets tough when we gotta pick 5 of you guys that get a piece of equipment. It's rough. You pull your hair out. We all do.
Todd has a question for you in the chat. Can the clubs fill out the ESR and other paperwork and then scan it to a PDF and send it? Or I think they're in fillable format, aren't they now?
Yes, if you click on the ESR through the DNR document site through the paperwork, it'll open in Internet Explorer. You can fill it out, save it from there, and send it to your contact. Or if you fill it out by hand, yeah, you can scan it and send it. Since we went to this program, I mean, it's really helped, because there was times we weren't getting ESRs until June sometimes, and it made our lives even more hectic, because we do this as expeditiously as we can, so get word out to you, and clubs can start doing their research on what they want to buy.
And there are deadlines, correct?
Yes, there's a deadline. I believe it's April 15th for ESR, I do believe.
Yep. And I know they definitely need them by then. So if you can do them earlier, that's even better for these guys.
Scott, Joe, you got anything to add today?
Jessica has her hand.
Carl. Carl, great presentation. And I think most people here probably know this, but you know, the committee was started, just 2 people from the UP and 2 people from the lower were picked to assist Richard. And I think we've been doing this, what, Karen, for about 10 years now.
Yeah, getting close to that.
I remember. Yeah, and it's, you know, we've developed a great working relationship with Richard, and we often invite other people in for when we need more questions or if they have questions. But I think by design, when it was set up, they wanted to keep it small because, you know, it went from one person picking the machines, Richard, which was obviously very overwhelming, and you know, he wasn't even quite sure what we were doing to start with, but like I said, we've all developed a good trust for each other, and we work together well, I think, and we all bring a little different perspective to that decision-making process. And we take it very seriously. But a lot of things come up during, you know, that a lot of it comes off the ESRs that start new conversations. And we try our best to bring that as a new topic to solve because it's beyond the scope of our committee. So that just wanted to throw that out there. So that's kind of how I look at our mission statement.
Scott McComb, you got anything you would like to add?
No, it's a great presentation, Carl, and you said everything I was thinking of anyway. But yeah,
Come
it's
on, you got to finish it up with him. Grease your machines.
oh, I know, you got to let me get there first. Yeah, no, very important, you know, the one thing, grease your machines for sure. Yeah, machines don't live without grease. And make sure your guys are greasing the machine, just not checking a box. So,
Right. I know Joe had a comment up above that it takes approximately half a tube of grease every time you grease your machine. So you should be putting those on those ESRs so that all gets put into the formula. The formula is junk without good information. And Carl's been pounding this into my head for 15 years. I think Jessica had her hand
yeah,
up. Or
I
did
saw.
you get taken care of, Jessica?
All good. Thanks.
And thank you to Jessica for getting sick of listening to me about getting these all these forms so we can fill them out online. The easier we can make everybody's life, it's so much better. I know there was some minor grumbling when the new ESR form came out, but ultimately all we did was just move things around a little bit and gave you more room. So there's really no extra work. Once you have your VIN number for your tractor, you don't have to get it again. So it's nice to have these forms easy fillable for everybody, and like your weekly forms now calculate automatically. You don't have to do that. So that was a good addition to the overall program.
If you ever find any issues with the forms, just let me know because I can fix them pretty quickly and get them back on the website into rotation. And I've had a couple this year come about where it was just, you know, a little thing that was weird, and I was able to get them fixed and get them back out there. So that's no big deal to take care of that, but sometimes it just takes extra set of eyes to find something that wasn't working on those fillable forms. And the other thing is just remember, and not to correct you, Carl, but just when you open those forms from the website and they open in your browser, you cannot fill them out there. You have to save them to your computer and then open them up in the Adobe application. Then you can work on them. Because if you just open them up in your browser and you start filling out all your information stuff and you go to save it, it may not save properly. You might not be able to send it properly. And you probably won't be able to electronically sign it properly. So just don't work on it when it's, if you once you click it and you're like, bam, there it is, cool. And you just like want to get into it. Don't do it. Open it up, save it, save it,
Jessica,
and then reopen it.
is there any chance
Go
you can
ahead.
quickly walk through that on a screen share? What you're talking about?
Yeah, I sure could.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think, let me find you, because you're out
Let
here
me close,
someplace. And, yep,
let me
just,
close the 20 windows that I have open on my computer right
yep,
now.
and I will find your name and get you, the shareability, and you can just quickly walk through that.
I can very quickly do
And
that.
if you have trouble, if you're still, struggling with it, let me know. I'll get you with Jessica or someone that can help you. We don't want you struggling out there. You guys are way too busy for that. We want to make this as
Yep.
easy as possible. Okay, Jess, you can share now.
Okay. Sharing. Which screen am I sharing? Let's see. Screen, this one.
Not the
Okay.
naughty ones, Jessica.
Oh yeah, like I have that on my work computer. Okay. Okay. So, how do I know what screen I'm sharing?
You're on the horseback riding or bee riding. That's what you're sharing.
Oh, okay, good. All right, that's where I want to be. Okay, so I'm going to click on snowmobiling. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of the page. Snowmobile Trail Improvement Fund, all the way down to the bottom of the page. And forms and grants for grantees. Excuse me. Let's do your, well, we were just talking about the ESRs, so let's do that. Where is it at? There it is. No. Where is it? Sorry, I'm not, it's, my eyes are going blurry. Equipment status report
Second
right
one on
here.
the bottom.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm all excited to fill this out and I'm going to click on it and it's going to open. And right now it is open in my browser. Even though it says Acrobat over here, it's still on the browser page. So I'm going to click on this right here, download this file. So I'm going to download it. And I'm going to save it under my downloads. Wherever you want to put it, you can. You can put it on your desktop. You can put it wherever you want. So PR 1856. And you can rename it, on your computer. ESR. And that's going to my download file. I'm going to save it. So now I'm just going to close out of this because I don't want to be on my browser. And I'm going to go to my little files. So wherever your file explorer is, I'm going to open that up. Of course, it went on my other screen. Come on. Let's move over, please. Okay. So I'm in my file explorer and I'm going to go to my downloads. Oh, look, right there it is. So I want to open this and I'm going to right click on it because I want to make sure that I'm opening it. You can just, if you trust your computer to go where you want it to go, you can just double click on it. But for illustrative purposes, I'm going to right click and this gives me choices. Open, open, open. Open here automatically says it's going to go to my Adobe. Or you can go down to open with, there's all kinds of choices. Open with, making sure I'm going to go to my Adobe. Now, yours probably doesn't say Adobe Acrobat. I have Adobe Pro on my machine, but yours probably says Adobe Reader or Adobe Free or something like that. So I'm just going to click, as long as it has this little icon and it says Adobe, you're good. So then I open it up and yeah, it sits on my other screen. Come on, pull it over. There we go. So now I'm in Adobe, in my Adobe program on my machine, yeah. And so then I can put in there, Keweenaw. Oh, look at those letters are weird. And then,
You're under the,
oh,
Doesn't-
and that's actually not even the form that I wanted.
right,
I know why, because I pulled over the wrong one. Sorry. I have 3 screens here going and I pulled over the totally wrong form. Come on.
Jessica, Joe has a question that is the note present when you open it in the browser, the reminder to save to Adobe? I didn't notice that.
I don't think it is, no.
I wonder if
Oh,
that could be
can't
added.
seem to grab this. Oh.
Carl is saying if anybody needs help, get a hold of me and I will get you information to get a hold of one of the sponsors. I know there's some of the guys are really good with the paperwork. I know Bridget's been working on her. She's new to doing paperwork. She reached out and
Here we
said,
are.
I need help. And we got her some appointments with Richard. He is helping her, but there are others that can help you as well. So let us know and I'll get you into the right person because I don't fill out the paperwork.
Yeah. So anyway, now I got the right form on the right screen. So as you can see, the ones that are in red, the fields that are in red, those mean that you have to fill them out. And if you don't fill them out, you're going to get an error. So, however many trail miles you have assigned, I don't know. I'm just making this up. Chads, don't yell at me. Miles groomed this season a lot, but I can't put a lot in there because I need a number. A lot. Hours, a lot. You get the gist here, right? So my tractor number 1 is a piston bully.
Well, I was going to definitely say it was a John Deere.
I don't know. I'm just making
We
this
don't
Oh,
have
no.
any John Deere's, Karen.
It's okay. We're making it up,
trail
Chad.
bully.
This is for pretend,
Yep.
Chad.
And it's a 2029 because we're in the future and we like the future. And it is program owned. So you got to check a box here because all this is in red. So you can't just leave that alone. And then,
Jessica, can you show them what happens when you do that, when you try to save it?
yeah. All right. So over here is your save. And where's the error message?
Perhaps I mean, you could go back into it. Is that why it's not doing that for you?
Yeah, I think you can go back in and continue. So I'm not sure why it's not, because you're just saving it. So you're not trying to close it or send it, or you're not trying to sign it. I think maybe it won't let you sign it. I've never tried to do it without filling out the I'll be perfectly honest, I've never tried to do it without filling it out properly.
See all the things we're learning
so-
here, folks?
Yeah. So then, you check the box and it's got tracks. So, I want to say we keep our tracks wonderfully aligned and tensioned perfectly, and we lubricate them regularly. I took a nice picture that I'm going to attach when I send this in. We have a wonderful groomer barn that we just built, and Jessica saw it and was very impressed. Let's see. We installed we have a battery tender. I don't know, describe the condition of your tractor, and blah, blah, blah there. And then, you would do your drag down here, the same thing, drag number 2. And then you would save this one, however you wanted to save it. And then you start another one for your next machine. And then also when you send this off to your unit contact, they need to put in their name and the date that they received it. And there's even a little calendar that pops up so they can just click on a date. So yeah, basically, this is how it goes through when you're filling it out in your Adobe Reader. And it's easier for Carl to read. It's easier to transfer this data into a spreadsheet if it's able to be read nicer, because handwriting this is pretty difficult, but there is just tons of room for you to write your description here. Please attach at least one photo and any supporting documentation, like receipts from repairs that were done over this season, or any maintenance that you had done outside of your club, if you had to send it into the shop or what have you. If you're having any body work done, like if the hood got damaged and you had to send it in for body work or anything like that, then you can document all that here. You could attach as many scans of documents as you like and pictures of anything that you like. The more documentation that is received with this ESR, the easier it is for the gentleman on the committee, the equipment subcommittee, to to get an in-depth look at your vehicle if they can't get out to see it themselves, if so desired. So anyway, any other questions on the process of opening the document in on your browser, saving it to your computer, and then reopening it in Adobe? That's really the point here. Any other questions about that?
I
Okay,
don't
cool.
see no hands, Jess. I think you did a great job.
Okay. Good. And then I would just save this again, and it would go right back to, where I had it saved in the first place, which was I had it saved in downloads, but then you can move it or do whatever you want. That's all up to how you run your computer. This is a cool thing we're working on. Can I show this real quick? I know we're over, but since I have it up, and I'm not sharing anymore.
You are. You're
Okay,
sharing, Jess.
so you guys at last Groomer Workshop, you guys asked for this. So this is the universal landowner permit. And I had you guys send, several of you sent me what you guys use for your landowner permit document. And so we took, Ron Yesney and I worked on this, and we took a bunch of different ones and put them together, and we made it into a fillable document, just like the one you just saw. And we put in all of everything in on what you guys all had on yours already, with all of the statements in here. I think I have to tweak one more statement Ron and I talked about. Additional conditions might be like, our trails don't open until December 15th because the Houghton Lift Bridge won't, isn't ready until December 15th or something. So that could be put in here. That doesn't make any sense because it's not private property. I don't know what I'm talking about. Additional conditions. We don't open our fields until after hunting season, so that could be a date for private property. So then grant sponsor signs, property owner signs, title, and print your name. And then on the back of this, which is another thing you all asked for, was the legal hoo-ha is all on the back of this. document. Right now it's too big for the page, so I'm still editing this to fit the page. But that is this is just my draft. But this is going to be done, and I will get this out to all of you if you want to use it. But again, this was asked for, and it's just a universal form that everybody can use with the all of the language that says that they're covered, you know, the liability information and all of everything that you asked to have on there as far as the law, the act, the Natural Resources Act, and snowmobiling stuff. So again, I just need to make this more compact and show you Part 821 snowmobiles, blah blah blah.
So
So
Jessica, obviously they would fill this out, except for the landowner's signature, print it, have them sign it and scan it back in. Is that your plan of attack?
yeah,
Because
yep.
I mean, you have, otherwise you'd have to have every landowner in your house.
Yeah,
So
just like what they already do, right, with their forms. What the clubs, all the clubs have their own forms, and it was
I
asked
understand
of
that.
us. It would be really cool if, yeah. So so just like what they already have. Only this is a universal one that everybody can use. Snowmobile and ORV. I know ORV has few landowners, but that everybody can use across the board. And if you know, if your landowners have if you already have an agreement with your landowners, and it's you know, until further notice, then we're not saying you have to go out and take this new form to them and have them re-sign.
So when's
We're
gonna
not
hit the
saying that.
web page for us to download and try?
As soon as I get this second page cleaned up here, because
Okay.
as you can see, it runs right off the page. So
It's
I
gonna
just
be in
have
the
to.
gonna be in the same location all the other forms are?
Yep, it sure is.
Okay.
Yep. So I was just that's why it was on my page, because I was just editing it, and Ron Yesney and I met on it to make sure that I have everything I need on there. And so soon it'll be up there very soon, so you can yeah, download it and try it. And then if you have any permits that you would like to see updated with your landowners or what have you, then you can, yeah, then definitely give it a try. So thanks
Yeah,
for
that's
listening to that.
Karen, to answer your question, what they have to do is fill out their part of it and then print it out and bring it to the landowners.
That's what that's where I was going, Ron, was that this would be something you guys could have all ready for them. You take it over, have your landowner sign it, and you're done with it. They've got all the information, they can read it, everything's ready, print it, have them sign it, you're good to go.
Yes.
That's where I was going, Jess. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And bring 2 copies because they're going to want one.
Right. As well. You can print it probably as many times as you want, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
So awesome. Great advancements. Great advancement. Any other questions or comments? Besides Mr. O'Neill, who's having a beverage. Anybody else got anything? Not seeing
No,
any
thanks
hands,
everybody
Jessica.
for
I think you did a great job. Yes, thank you
thanks
all for
everybody
coming.
for
We appreciate it. Go ahead, Chad. I'm going to stop talking over you.
No, you're okay. Thanks everybody for joining us again tonight. And we look forward to one more evening with everybody tomorrow night with some more good content. So appreciate everybody again being flexible and joining us, and all of our partners being here and making the presentations this evening. So thanks everybody for presenting and everybody for joining.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys.